Josh sent me a YouTube video. We took action on the steps in this guy's course.
Yeah.
Rest is history.
And the rest is history. Our first product was and I remember doing the research on it. It didn't take us terribly long to find. You know, we probably cut some corners in terms of like...
E-commerce is the greatest business opportunity of our generation.
Welcome to the first episode of the Ecom Unlimited podcast. I'm Kaj.
I'm Josh.
And we are business partners in the Amazon FBA space. We're also have some plans to expand onto other platforms as well.
Yes.
But today we just want to kind of give you guys an introduction into how we got into business, share some fun stories about our journey, and also give you some tips on how you can get started. So first, I'll just tell you what e-commerce is. We sell physical products through online marketplaces. So that's different than what a traditional way of selling physical products would be, which is brick and mortar. So you have a store and you would sell in a physical retail location. But e-commerce is leveraging the internet, leveraging websites, marketplaces like Amazon, Walmart, eBay to find physical products and then sell them to customers all across the country or even in bordering countries like Canada and Mexico.
Yeah.
So Josh, what kind of e-commerce do we specialize in?
Yeah, so we focus on Amazon FBA, which is Amazon basically gets products that we ship to them, and they end up shipping them out to customers when they buy them. So that makes it really cool for us because we don't have to ship out a ton of packages every day. We basically send shipments to Amazon, which is really convenient. And then we do also a little bit of eBay when we have some unfulfillable inventory that goes through. And we're really trying on Walmart, but they're kind of being stingy right now. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they're ghosting us. So if any Walmart executives are watching this podcast, please continue to escalate my case so I can start selling stuff on your platform.
Escalate to the moon.
Yeah. And then with FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon, which is what Josh was talking about. So we send, instead of selling a product or shipping a product directly to you if you were buying it, we ship it to Amazon first,
Yep.
and then it becomes available for Prime. That way, when you purchase the product, you get it in 1 or 2 days, sometimes even the same day. So there are a few different ways that you can utilize Amazon's platform. There are like 4 different main models. What are the first 2?
So the first 2 are RA, which is retail arbitrage, where you can go into different stores like Walmart, Target, look at their clearance section, see what sales they're doing, and basically buy from them. Make sure the price is low enough to where you can sell it on Amazon for a profit, buy it from there, ship it to Amazon, and then Amazon will do the rest for you. That's really great for beginners because they can see price knowledge. They can see what brands sell at certain stores, and they can get a vast majority or a vast diverse amount of brands too. That's also a major thing when you first start. You're not really know what you're looking for, so you just start scanning products and from different brands, and you can find usually some pretty good finds once you get a little bit more knowledgeable. Online arbitrage is another thing that that's our main bread and butter. We go shop various retail sites online, so you don't have to go in the store, and we basically look for sales. Same thing, buy low, sell high on Amazon. That's just kind of how it works. That's kind of like our bread and butter. And then we work with different cashback websites, gift cards, and credit card rewards to kind of basically increase our profitability.
Yep, boost our margin.
Yeah.
Yep. And then another model is wholesale arbitrage, which is similar to retail arbitrage and online arbitrage in that you are purchasing products that already exist, brands that already exist, and then purchasing them low enough so that when you sell them, you make a margin. And with wholesale arbitrage, instead of going to retail stores, whether in person or online, we're reaching out to bulk distributors of these products. We might even be reaching out directly to the brand themselves. And then we get the discount. Instead of looking for sales, we get a discount because we're buying in bulk. And then once we get that product in bulk, again, then we ship it off to Amazon. They take care of the rest. The last model is called private label, which is when you design your own product and brand. So you're not flipping someone else's product and making margin. You're designing your own product, hopefully finding a good niche in the market, and then getting it manufactured in China or in the US, branding it, doing advertising for it, and then selling that yourself. And there's advantages and disadvantages to all of the models. The main two differences, which I just said, are one is you're flipping other people's stuff, and one is you have your own stuff. When you're flipping someone else's brand, you can get moving a lot quicker
Yeah.
because it's a product that already exists. You know it's already selling. And so all you have to do is make sure that you're going to make margin and that you're allowed to sell it. And then you buy it, ship it out, and you can sell that product, get your money back in 30 days.
Yeah.
When you are designing your own brand, that process can take 6 months, 9 months, a year even, to find the right supplier, to design the product correctly, to build the listing, to optimize your advertising. There's a whole lot more that goes into it, but in the long run, you're going to have brand equity and you're probably going to have a higher profit margin.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. Now, let's see. How do we get even started with private label? Because didn't we get, what was that, 2018, I think?
I think it was, 2017.
2017, dude. Oh my gosh, the years. They're
Yeah.
just flying by.
So Josh and I had done some business stuff in high school. We were doing some network marketing that, we learned a ton, didn't really make a lot of money, but learned a ton about business and kind of had the itch.
Yeah.
And at this point, we were in college and trying to figure out what to do next. And I clearly remember that one night I got an email from Josh that sent me a YouTube video of this guy who was doing private label on Amazon. And he was like, I think we can do this. And I watched the video and I was like, I think we can do this. So let's do it. And I think we both put in like $500 or $1,000 to start a LLC, to pay for this guy's course, which we went through the whole thing, and to get like samples made for the product.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we got into it. Josh sent me a YouTube video. We took action on the steps in this guy's course.
Yeah.
Rest is history.
And the rest is history. Our first product was a pocket blanket. And I remember doing the research on it. It didn't take us terribly long to find. And, we probably cut some corners in terms of like competition. Didn't really look a whole bunch of competition. Just knew that there was enough margin there to make money.
Yeah, our market research was
not great.
Not great.
It was terrible. And that ended up not doing so great. But we didn't lose totally on the product. There were like certain days where someone ordered like 34 of them when we were like, oh, like the power of Amazon is real. Like,
right. It was proof of concept.
Yeah, proof of concept.
It was proof of concept. And I remember like we because we took this guy's course, right? And back in that day, there weren't a lot of courses on Amazon.
No.
So my theory is that because we found the product, right? And we originally wanted to sell it for $15.
Yeah.
And we had to sell it at like $8.
Yeah.
So at $15, we were making profit. At like $8, I think we were breaking even or losing like $1 or $2.
Yeah.
My theory is that everyone did the same research methods that was in the course
and found the same product.
Everyone launched pocket blankets at the same time. And
I think so.
What is a pocket blanket?
Oh, geez. A pocket blanket is a product that campers use to basically not sit on the ground. They can just pull out this very thin polyester-like fabric, lay it on the ground, and sit on it. So you didn't have to sit on like dirt or like grass. And you can enjoy whatever you were doing, like lunch or the scenes.
It's like a fancy tarp.
Yeah, literally a fancy tarp.
It's a fancy tarp.
Well, you can use it at the beach too. So there are other avenues that you can use it.
Yeah.
But that's the premise of the product.
And then, but it was a good experience. So then it was like, I remember the one day we were sitting in Moe's at Widener.
Oh yeah.
And it was like we just got a bunch of random sales of pocket blankets.
Yeah, it was.
And we were like, oh, whoa, this works.
Yeah.
Because we had launched the product and didn't get any sales.
0.
For like
so long.
A couple months.
Yeah. We
just had products sitting in Amazon. We were like, well, that failed.
That was terrible.
And I don't know if we had thought about quitting or not, but
we definitely did. And I said, let's just give it one more shot. And then if that goes, then we just have to pivot and figure out something else to do. Yeah. So what made our second product so good?
Well, we stuck with private label.
We did.
We stuck with private label because that's what we knew. At that point, I don't even think we really had a concept of arbitrage
No, I saw a couple videos on it, but I didn't feel like it was worth it at the time. 'Cause I
Right.
didn't really truly understand it. All I saw were like advertisements saying like this guy was like, you can sell Crest toothpaste on Amazon and make money. And I was like, that's probably a
Yeah,
scam. 'Cause
doesn't
that
make
seems,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's just stick with private label, see what happens.
Right. So we were sticking with private label because that's what we knew. And from Pocket Blankets, we were like, okay, we definitely have to do better market research. We're not just going to pull the trigger on something and have the same thing happen.
Yeah.
And we're also in college. So you were doing market research. I
Mhm.
was doing market research. We launched our first product in the middle of 2017. I don't think we launched the second product until 2019.
Yeah. I spent so much time.
We spent a lot of time, and there were a few products that we almost pulled the trigger on. And then, so the second private label product that we did, which is the first product we actually profited on Amazon,
Yes.
was a bat house.
Yes.
This is essentially a wooden box. Think a birdhouse, but redesigned for bats. Okay, we'll go.
But like, why was it so like odd that we launched a bat house? And what year was it again? What year was this?
2019.
2019.
2019.
In the middle of coronavirus,
No,
where
before coronavirus.
before coronavirus?
Our first shipment sold. We were
Oh.
selling before coronavirus.
Okay. Then
Yes.
coronavirus hit,
Yes.
and everybody thought that bats were the ones distributing the coronavirus, right?
Yeah.
So I automatically, as soon as the coronavirus came out, I said, "We're done. There's no way this product is going to sell. Like, there's just no shot." But
it did sell.
it sold
It
way
did
better
sell.
than we ever thought. What did we launch the product in, like, what, not 30 minutes, 45 minutes after we got our first sale? No advertising?
Yes.
That was wild.
That was crazy. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we knew.
That's
when
how we knew. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
so with private label again, right? You're creating your own listing on Amazon, and that listing has no traffic to start. You have to run advertising to that listing to get people to buy it. But when we launched our listing, people started purchasing the product before we were even running ads. And
Yeah.
that's when we knew we had found a good sliver of the market that people actually wanted to buy
Yeah.
the product that we had designed.
I don't even think the listing was completely finished too. I remember it was like close, but
Yeah,
it wasn't.
there was upgrades to be made for
Yeah.
sure, but it was there.
And that's when we knew it was going to
Yeah.
be a decent product.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long did it last?
So if we launched it in 2019, we sold through 2020. We probably had a few trickling out the beginning of 2021. So
Gotcha.
it was
Yeah.
about 2 years.
Yeah, that was a good 2 years.
So speaking of coronavirus, the crazy thing about this is we first heard about COVID
Mhm.
from, and I don't know if we can talk about COVID because our video might get suppressed, but we'll try.
It's not going to get spread.
We heard about COVID from our supplier in China because we were getting
Right.
it manufactured
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah,
China.
yeah.
And we were placing a huge order. We did a full shipping container of bat houses.
That's just so
Like
crazy. to
I
me.
think it was like 24 feet by like 20 or like by 10 by 5 or whatever.
How many was it? Like 2,400?
It was like, yeah, I think it was 2,400 bat
Yeah.
houses that we got shipped from China. And we
Oh,
were
wow.
putting this order together late 2019.
Yeah.
And our supplier messaged us sometime in like November, December. They were like, hey, like you need to get this order through now because we're about to shut down because of this virus.
Yeah.
And like,
Oh,
we're
what?
not thinking about it at all.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, we'll put the order
Whatever.
through, finally got enough money together for the wire.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, the coronavirus was on that shipping container and it infected the entire US. But then
now it's getting suppressed.
I think new conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
I think though it actually helped launch the product
It
even
did.
more
Yeah, I agree.
because everyone was at home looking for something random to do.
Yeah.
It just kind of
And nobody
It
else
took
could
off.
get their products in because
no one
of the coronavirus. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that summer was when we first were like, so the pocket blankets was proof of concept. And we
Yeah.
were like, okay, this works.
Yeah.
And then the bat houses was like, oh, this really works.
Yeah.
This can
Yeah.
you can turn this into a business.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And so how long did the bat houses last for? Was it 2 years?
Yeah, I would say peak bat house was 2019 through 2020.
Gotcha. And then there's just so what ended up happening. So too much competition came on. A lot of people were getting a lot of inventory so they could lower their prices.
Yeah, so there were a couple other players in the space. There was one really big seller who launched their own bat house, I remember.
Yeah.
And they just had more money for advertising and they had more inventory than we did. So they were able to rank better.
Yeah.
And the other thing that happened is after lockdown, the global supply chain was just destroyed.
Yeah.
So shipping rates like tripled.
Yep.
Cost of wood for the raw materials increased. So there was just no more profit left in them.
Yeah.
And so that's when we were like, okay, we need to make another pivot.
All right. So where did we pivot?
Just like how we got into Amazon, we pivoted by you watching a YouTube video.
Yeah. Another YouTube video.
Another YouTube video. So if you're picking up a theme here, watch free content on YouTube. It can change your life.
Change your life dramatically.
Yes. Very dramatically.
Yes. And then
so at this point we pivoted to retail arbitrage mainly.
Yeah. I was literally going to Marshall's every day after work because it was close to my house, and I would spend $500 every week pretty consistently.
Yeah.
I tried to drag Kaj in to do RA. Kind of worked, but he was more on I would say he was more on like the getting everything out to Amazon. I was more the buyer, so it actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah, Josh has always just had a sense for like finding the diamond in the rough. My sense, like I can do it. Like I've had a lot of reps sourcing now, so I know how to do it. But somehow Josh just like his spider sense just tingles, and he's just on it. Yeah. I remember the first product, actually, the first time you took me doing retail arbitrage, and we had the Amazon seller app up, scanning products, looking at the barcodes, and I found like this 4XL or 5XL Adidas pants.
Yeah.
And the profit was good.
So good.
Probably like buying it for $10, selling it for 30, making $10, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is great. And Josh is like, I don't really think that sells, man. He's like, the sales rank isn't good, which I didn't understand at the time. Yeah. And I'm like, there's got to be at least like a few 5XL people in the country that are going to buy this. So we bought it. Did not sell.
That was so funny. I remember that specifically.
Yeah.
But we had the Columbia boxers that we loved.
Yep.
We were getting cart full of these Columbia boxers to sell on Amazon. Those were like our bread and butter. We
would go to like 5 or 6 different Marshalls every week and clean them out of their Columbia boxers.
Just specifically a certain kind of Columbia boxers too.
Yeah, it was like a 3-pack cotton stretch.
Yeah.
I think all the blacks, all black,
were the best.
And we did that for a year.
Yeah.
Just cleaning out those boxes. That was one of our best products.
Yeah.
Until the listing got obliterated.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that listing exists anymore.
I don't think it does.
It was a great product.
It was. Yeah.
What are some other good RA products that you found?
Other RA products.
Or some of your eBay flips too.
Oh, yeah. So with RA, I think I ended up going to a lot of like Goodwills, a lot of yard sales.
Yeah.
Specifically to just try to create some capital for our next adventure.
Right.
And ended up going into Goodwill, found these books that were like old like ships, like the Mayflower, and they would literally break them down to like the individual like screws. And it was just like these thick books that would you could just keep flipping pages, and it would tell you how like they basically built the ships.
So was it a step-by-step design on how to remake it, like a model?
You could literally remake the Mayflower with these books.
Wow.
Like I was flipping through them and I was like, wow, these are pretty sweet. And I was like, I wonder if they sell on Amazon. And so they were selling on like Goodwill they had them priced like $2, and they were like pretty good condition. So I was like, oh, I'll scan it. So I scanned one. It was like $100, and I was like,
selling for $100.
Yeah, selling for $100. I was like, no way. And I'm like, then I look over at the shelf and there's like 15 of these books, and I was like, oh snap. So I ended up just like paying $20 for like literally like 20 books almost, and just walked out with like probably like $600 in profit in like 20 minutes. It was awesome. That was the best flip I probably had on Goodwill.
And then they all sold, right?
Yeah, they all sold, but they trickled out. It wasn't like they were high velocity.
Right.
But like I remember I was at clinicals, and then you would text me like, dude, just sold another book. And then I look at like the seller app, and I'd be like, yes, let's go.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was fun.
So that's one of the advantages of retail arbitrage.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put in a lot of sweat equity in, because you're physically going to the stores, you're scanning a lot of products. But when you do find something, you're the return on your investment, like how much you spend and then how much you get back,
Yeah.
is really high.
Yeah, it's really high.
Is really high.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of physical effort to
So
do
much
that.
effort. So many lines you're going to have to stand in.
Oh, that's the worst.
Traffic.
Especially during Q4.
Dude.
You go in and then you like, I mean, I've had to wait in line for like 20, 30 minutes at some Marshalls.
Dude, the Marshalls is like the worst by my house or by my work. It's so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you are too. If you're in a crowded area, we'll share one more story.
Okay, yeah, that's
about RA fines.
Sure.
This is one of my favorite.
Yeah. Do we want to do the iced tea one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So at Ollie's, one of my favorite places to go for RA. Walking around the store, couldn't find anything. Went to like their drink area and saw, Arnold Palmer iced tea. And there's nothing I like more than an Arnold Palmer iced tea. So I was like, might as well scan it, see what happens. They were selling them for like $3.99, and on Amazon, I think they were selling for like $17.99. So there was like a good, almost like 80%, I think, margin there. So I was like, no way. And I'm like looking at this entire pallet, trying to figure out how many there were. And I think that I forget the number.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Like 100.
So I immediately text you and I'm like, dude, this could be our next big flip. And that's how I found the product. And then you ended up I had to go to clinical. So you ended up going to Ollie's like the next day, right?
The next day, yeah. So for context, with whether you're doing FBA and you're shipping into Amazon, or if you're doing FBM, which stands for fulfilled by a merchant, and shipping the product directly to the customer, part of the cost that you have to factor in is shipping.
Yeah.
Drinks are heavy and shipping is more expensive.
Yeah.
So we knew we would have to do these FBA, but there are two kinds of shipping. It's like SPD, which is small parcel, which is essentially like anytime you're shipping a box or an envelope through the post office or through UPS, and then they're pallets when you're shipping via truck. And so we knew because these were so heavy, we would have to do a pallet. However, we'd never done a pallet before, so just
never done a pallet.
Keep that in mind. But yeah, so Josh texts me, and at this time, I'm still working a full-time job as well. And he's like, dude, I think this is going to be our next flip. And I run the numbers, I calculate like what I think shipping is going to be on my little spreadsheet. And I'm like, we could make like 50% to 75% ROI on these. I'm like, we just have to do it. We can't say no. We're going to figure it out. So the next day I go to Ollie's. Now this is where the disaster starts. Everything just starts to fall apart. So I go look at the pallet and I'm like, okay, this is not going to fit in my car. So I go and rent a U-Haul, which was fine. Go rent a U-Haul, right? Bring it over. And in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, this pallet is so beautifully packed, right? It's clearly like layers of 20, 5 high. You just go 5 by 20, 100 units. Perfect. Easy. Done. That's all you got to do. So I go to the lady, and in my head, I'm thinking they're going to get a pallet jack, wheel it outside. I'll pay for it, put it on the U-Haul. No, that's not what happens. The cashier lady is like, our policy is I have to physically touch and count every single one. I'm like, you're joking. I'm like, there's not like a manager that can override that. And then she goes and talks to the manager. She's like, no, we got to count them all. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
So wild.
So we unload every single one off of the pallet in the store to check out. That's the first time I move all of them. And then we have like 20 shopping carts just full of iced tea. Second time I move them, then we got to take them all outside, put them onto the U-Haul. That's the second time. Third time, then we got to bring them to your mom's house, which is where we're prepping them out of the garage, out of the U-Haul onto tables. Then when we're prepping them, we realize they're all dusty.
Yeah.
So we got to clean them all. So then we move every single one again to wipe them down. And then after we wipe them down, then we realize that we need to tag them and they need to be polybagged because we hadn't polybagged anything before. Yeah. Then we move them all again to polybag them. And then we move them again to rebuild a pallet. It was terrible. My back hurts so bad.
And then when we got the pallet done, I had to wrap it. Mind you, that was a disaster. Never wrapped a pallet before in my life. I'm like down there like 1 a.m. trying to wrap this pallet by myself. And it was just, I couldn't get it to snag on the bottom.
And we also we didn't set up the pallet in the middle.
Yeah.
So it was like close to the wall, so you couldn't get around it.
So I was like trying to squeeze my way past. It was just a disaster. And then even when we got it all wrapped up, ready to go, and the truck came, what ended up happening?
So we scheduled a truck through Amazon to come pick it up.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, the truck's going to come on this day. I was like, cool. So I was here just waiting for the truck to come. And now, mind you, we're doing this out of a residential garage. So it's not like the truck can back up and it's like the same height and it can just go on. You need a pallet jack to move the pallet and a lift gate on the truck to lift it into the truck.
Yeah.
And so I specifically told Amazon that multiple times. Like, there's a way to request it when you first do it. And then I did like a follow-up email and everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm here waiting for it. And then I see a big blue prime truck pull up, and they called me because they were like trying to figure out where it was because of like where the house is. And so then he finally like pulled in, and as he pulled in, I'm like, there's no lift gate. I'm like, oh no. And then so I go up to the guy and tell him, and I'm like, I'm not moving this pallet again. Like, I'm not breaking it down and putting it back on the truck. And he was like, yeah, we're not doing that. So then I was like, great. That failed. This is just sitting in there. We're not even going to be able to sell this because we can't even get it to Amazon.
Yeah.
And then I forget exactly what else happened, but eventually we figured out how to get a truck from like a third party shipping company that had a lift gate and everything.
Yeah.
So it did eventually get picked up.
That's
but
good.
the whole process, if you like factored in like our hourly wage from that order, it was probably 50 cents an hour.
Yeah. We were literally
the amount of time that we put in trying to figure out how to put it together. But
we were basically sweatshop workers.
Yeah, it was really bad. But we did make money. We did make money, but not a lot on our time.
No, not a lot on our time, mostly for the business.
Yeah.
And our next venture.
But it was a good experience, right? And that's kind of like how every step of it has been for us is we figure out what we're going to do, and then you just start taking action and you figure it out. And the first time you do it, it's going to be terrible.
So bad.
You're going to feel like you're wasting your time. But once you figure out the process once, then the next time you do it and the next time you do it, it's clockwork.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier. Yeah.
So you it's kind of like it's the ignorance tax that you got to pay.
I know.
You just don't know what you don't know, and then every step of the way you discover
you quickly realize you don't know a lot of things.
Yeah, and you quickly realize there's so many things that you don't know, and you just have to keep pushing through until you know as much as you can.
Now, what do we do like that first like year in terms of like revenue? What did our revenue kind of numbers look like throughout like the past 5 years?
Oh, that's a good question. So right now it's 2023. I'll go backwards.
Yeah, go backwards.
So this year we're on pace to do a little bit over $1 million total in sales.
Yeah.
I think we're at like 870K right now for the year.
Yeah.
Last year we did about $500,000 total revenue. The year before that, I would say we did about 100.
I think so.
100,000.
Sounds right.
Yeah. And then I don't remember how much we did like the first year. Pocket blankets, I mean, we probably sold a couple grand.
Yeah.
Bat houses
all we made to 10K.
No. Bat houses altogether, we probably sold. Actually, wait, let me do the numbers. Because we sold probably like 3,000 bat houses or more. And we were selling them around $30.
Yeah.
So we did almost 100,000 in revenue just from the bat houses.
Just from bat houses?
Which sounds so stupid.
But their cash flow was so terrible.
We were pinched so hard. Our cash flow could not have been worse.
Yeah.
It was so terrible.
And that's why we had to pivot.
I don't think we ever had cash in the bank.
No.
It was but every time it was just like we wanted to keep growing.
I know.
So we would make all of our profit would just go into buying the next order, which would be bigger.
And the margins just kept getting slimmer.
Margins kept getting slimmer. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was tough.
It was tough.
Yeah. So then, so we were doing RA, right? We did the Columbia boxers.
Yep.
We did the books.
Yep.
We did other Nike clothing.
Yeah.
We did the iced teas. What was our next pivot?
Our next pivot was online arbitrage. So we ended up taking a course. Shout out to Miles.
Shout out Flips for Miles.
Flips for Miles. Did a course, took his course. I felt like I learned a lot in terms of sourcing. The OA side of things.
Which is very different from retail arbitrage. It's the same products, but very different how to find them.
Yeah. And basically looking for a lot of sales, a lot of clearance, a lot of coupons, different websites that people aren't finding, all that kind of stuff. And that got us to where, that got us to like 100K months, I would say, 80 to 100K months. It took us a while to get there.
No, not quite. Not quite.
50K months?
We hit, that's probably more accurate. Because we had a good December in 20.
Oh, we didn't even hit 100K. Yeah, we hit like 90K or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what were the other two that we started
I would say OA got us, when we first started doing OA, that consistently got us like 50 to 70K a month revenue.
Gotcha.
And then I would say now our OA operation does like anywhere between 50 and 80K revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the other two that we use right now?
What do you mean?
Like, what are the other two?
Oh, you're talking about what, like
Yeah.
wholesale?
Yeah.
Oh, I was so confused.
Sorry.
Well, so we did OA,
Yeah.
right? And then we pretty much all of 2022 did OA.
Yeah.
And then like we talked about in the beginning, next another model is wholesale,
Yeah.
which the advantage of wholesale versus online arbitrage is you can get things in bigger bulk.
Yeah.
A problem that a lot of online arbitrageurs run into is they get canceled on their website orders,
Mhm.
or they find a really good product and they want to buy a lot of it, but the website only has 5 in stock.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas with wholesale, the distributors essentially want you to buy as much product as possible.
Mhm.
And so when you find a product that moves very quickly, it's like, okay, let me just buy as much as I possibly can. And we're kind of running into that right now, where we had a product where we bought like 1,000 of them, and I thought that was going to be a month's stock, and it turns out it's like 4 days of stock. It's crazy.
It's so wild.
It's crazy. So in 2022, especially towards the end of it, we knew we wanted to get into wholesale.
Mhm.
We were just focusing on OA, so I was consuming a lot of free content, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, figuring out what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then beginning of 2023 is when we started taking action to get into wholesale.
Yeah. Now how do we get our first one? How do
So-
we take action to get our first wholesaler?
Yeah. So our first distributor, it was quite a fun experience.
Yeah.
There are many different ways you can get a wholesale supplier. So the most common is just Googling for a category, for example, beauty, grocery, clothing, putting in that keyword, and then also putting in your area. So like we're close to Philly. So like grocery distributor, Philadelphia, beauty wholesaler, Philadelphia. And then you're going to get a bunch of lists. And then all you're going to do is just scrape that list, put together all those contacts, and then call or email every single one of them asking for a wholesale account to purchase their product. That's like the simplest way to start finding distributors. We found distributors that way, still finding distributors that way. A second way that you can find wholesale suppliers is most products, and I wish I had one sitting around if I had thought of this. But what's that purple box?
Roku.
It's not. Yeah, just give me that. No one's gonna actually be able to sell Roku, but it probably will work for the example.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
I was gonna say that would be challenging to find.
Well, no, it's here. No, I can use this. So another way to find wholesale suppliers is looking on the packaging of products. Now, you're not going to be able to sell Roku because they're probably selling this themselves. So this isn't an example that you should follow. But you can see on any product, like right here, which I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it says on the product like Roku Inc., and then it has their address. And oftentimes, if it's through a distributor, it'll have the name and possibly contact information of the distributor. Yeah. So then what we're doing when we're doing retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, we're actually getting wholesale leads from those products because all of the packaging has the information for the distributors.
Yeah.
That's how we found, or not found, but that's how we opened our first wholesale account.
Yeah.
So there's one product that we were flipping OA from Walmart.
Yes.
And normally what I do, I'll take pictures of the contact information and upload them to Google Drive and then call them all later. This one product, I don't know why. I was just like, you know what? I'm just calling them right now. Why not? Because the phone number was there. So I called them, and it was for a big brand, one that you all would recognize. And I called them up and I was like, hey, looking to open a wholesale account. And the customer service lady was like, oh yeah, you can like go to Costco and BJ's. I was like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm like, I want like a distributor, not like a grocery store. And they're like, oh, okay. And they were like, call XYZ company. And I was like, cool. So I called them up. Actually, I Googled them and searched them. Lo and behold, they're 5 minutes down the road. And I was like, what? This distributor's been in our backyard the whole time. We didn't even know. Crazy. Yeah. So I called them, and I think it was a Friday afternoon. The sales team was out. He was like, follow up with me on Monday. I was like, cool. Told Josh, I was like, dude, I think we might have our first wholesale supplier. This is crazy. And he was like, we're just going. Just go. We're just going to go. So then that following Tuesday, we just showed up there.
Yeah.
Huge facility,
Massive.
all these nice cars.
Yeah.
My beat up Hyundai.
Just parked right in the parking
You're
lot.
slightly better Hyundai.
Yeah.
And so we pull up and we like try and go at the door and it's locked.
Yeah.
And it's like you need to buzz in. So I hit the buzzer and I was like, I forget exactly what I said, but I just remember the lady was like, "Do you guys have an appointment?" We're like, "No." And I was like, can I just talk to someone in sales so we can, get an account open? And she was like, "Let me put you on hold." So she put me on hold. And then this nice lady walked out and we had a great conversation.
We did.
We just told her what we do, that we're
Yeah.
looking to buy in bulk. And she was like, "We don't really work with e-commerce people or have in the past," but
Right.
she followed up with her sales director. She's like, "We'll give you guys a shot." We were like, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then they gave us access to their online portal, which had, all their products, just so many products. And
Yeah.
like 98% of them don't work on Amazon.
Yeah. would
And
not
that's
work.
what most wholesale suppliers are going to be.
Yeah.
But that 2% we've been buying for the last 9 months.
Yeah.
And, products, it changes, the market changes. So some products work for a certain period of time and then they don't. Others are more evergreen. But I mean, we ordered $6,000 of product from them within the last 3 weeks and we'll probably place another order soon.
Yeah.
So that's how we found our first supplier.
That's so crazy.
Sometimes you gotta, and the game of wholesale is relationship based.
Yeah.
OA, RA, it's just all transactional. I mean, sometimes you can build relationships with store managers or something like that, but wholesale, it's all relationship. So the more communication you can have, the better. And I guarantee you with this account, we would not have opened the account if we didn't show up in person.
I 100% agree. There's no shot.
So sometimes you just got to be willing to do that. Like you don't want, if you're just an email warrior hiding behind the keyboard, you're not going to have a lot of success.
Yeah.
If you're willing to pick up the phone, even better, willing to drive out, meet them in person, you're going to have a lot more success in wholesale.
Yeah. And I remember just hearing a lot of that from other successful like wholesalers.
Exactly.
Like people would be flying across the country trying to meet these wholesale people.
Yeah.
Or just distributors so they can see if they can get an account.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's an account you really want and you know that it's going to have good products, carry products that you want, you make it happen.
100%.
Because that flight across the country or going to a conference like ASD or other, trade shows, the ROI is so high.
So massive.
Yeah. And that's actually, so most of our good accounts are from either meeting in person or from relationships we already have.
Yeah.
We have some accounts, like I said, that we just opened from email or phone calls, but the ones that are the most profitable for us are all from strong relationship leverage.
Yeah.
On Amazon, we've been in e-commerce from 2017 till now. So like about 6 years. Where are we taking this thing? Where do you see it going? What are your personal goals with it?
My personal goals are just like build something that will last for a long period of time or a longer period of time. Maybe you actually might not know this. You actually do know this, but that's besides the point. A lot of my family, were a bunch of farmers back then, so they were very successful. And then I am still kind of reaping benefits to this day because of it. And now it's my turn to see if I can make, an internet company or invest in whatever to create kind of like the new generation of kind of revenue that will sustain my family for, the next 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's kind of the goal with this, is just to build capital. And then what we do with that capital will be our next adventure, and will be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
But for now, I'm just enjoying the moment. This is too much fun.
It's so much fun. Yeah, no, I'm there with you. And, part of the reason why I'm working as hard on the business now as I am is like, I want it to be set up in a way that it allows me to have time with my future family.
Yeah.
Where I'm not a slave to a paycheck from somebody else, but I can build a business that has leverage,
100%.
that allows us to live the lifestyle that we want and not having to be a slave to work. Right now, it can feel like, a little bit of a slave to work, but I don't complain about it because I just love it. Like I would rather be working on the business because it's just so much fun.
It is. It is. Yeah. And with especially with like hiring some of our friends and like getting to know these people from different, networking things we go to.
Exactly.
So exciting.
It's so much fun. And I would rather work 60 to 70 hours a week on my own business than 40 hours a week for someone else.
Yeah, 100%.
And we have that vision. So right now, we're mainly on Amazon. Our goal is to become multi-channel, like we mentioned
Walmart.
earlier. We're still selling on eBay, not quite as much. More so selling returns that we can't sell as new on Amazon.
Yeah.
But definitely want to look into, well, not look into, but actually start selling on Walmart. Which
Yeah.
that process we've already started. But Walmart is
such a pain right now. I'm
they're
guessing it's Q4, but that's just me.
Amazon is the future,
Mhm.
and Walmart is the Stone Age.
Oh,
when it comes to their online selling.
yeah, that's true.
When it comes to their online selling, their support is not there, but they're getting there.
I feel
They're
like
getting there.
Apple is like Amazon, and Samsung back in the day is like Walmart. Like they're getting there.
Sure, but I wouldn't say Walmart, Samsung. They're more like LG.
Oh, LG. Yeah. I like that. That's better.
They're like, or like BlackBerry.
Yeah, BlackBerry. Gosh, I remember those. That's crazy.
Yeah. So we definitely want to become multi-channel, and part of that is just to, one, increase revenue, but also to de-risk, because the single biggest threat to our business is platform risk.
Yeah.
The way a lot of Amazon sellers like to say it is, we're playing in Uncle Jeff's playground, Jeff Bezos, and he sets the rules. And if he wants to kick you off the playground, he'll just kick you off the playground with
no reason.
very little remorse, if any.
I feel like we just had a big thing happen to our account. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we had a major scare, and when I say we, I mean almost every arbitrage seller on Amazon at the same time.
Yeah.
So to be quick, an email goes out from Amazon saying, to better customer experience, we're requiring additional approval for certain products. You're receiving this email because you are selling products that have been affected.
Yeah.
I didn't see that email on Friday. Saturday morning, and this is actually a week ago today. Saturday morning, I'm looking at one listing that we have about $40,000 worth of product on.
Yeah.
And I check this listing pretty much every day just because we have so much product on it, and just to see what the market's doing, what the pricing is, and everything.
Yeah.
And I noticed like the amount of people selling it has been very consistent. Like it's always 14 or 15 people, just because everyone has so much stock.
Right.
And I checked it Saturday, and there was a dip from 14 down to like 8. And I was like, if you see that dip, that can normally be like intellectual property complaint or some other problem. It's not because all those people sold out.
Right.
It's because there's a problem. And I was like, my heart just dropped. I was like, oh no, Lord Jesus. Oh no. So then I go into our catalog to check, and I saw that our listing for it was now inactive. And I was like, we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
We're going back to Marshall's.
Yeah, going back to Marshall's.
And so it wasn't just that product. It was like, I think 5 or 6 different listings, maybe 7 or 8. But essentially, like, so right now it's November, and we're gearing up for Black Friday and Christmas. And we've spent a ton of capital on a bunch of different, very fast moving products from our wholesale distributors. And 70 to 80% of those listings got blocked.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is terrible. This is absolutely
I honestly
terrible.
was scared. I was like, this could be the end.
Yeah, it was like all put together, it was about $60,000 to $80,000 of product that we had purchased over the last month was now blocked from selling on Amazon.
Just a disaster.
Absolute disaster. And it was like all this momentum that we felt, it was like just totally blown. And I was like, so essentially on Amazon, it's called gating. They gate you from selling certain brands. And the main reason for that is they just don't want people selling inauthentic products.
Right.
And so to get ungated, you have to buy a certain amount of the product and send an invoice from the retail store or the supplier saying, hey, this is where I got it from. Amazon, most often, they look at the invoice and then they'll ungate you if it's valid. And sometimes you have to submit it multiple times because they have a software look at it and the software doesn't know what it's doing, but that's besides the point.
Right.
You send them an invoice, you get ungated, and then you're good. All of these products that we had purchased, we were already ungated in, which is why we bought them.
Mm-hmm.
The scary thing is they got regated, which doesn't really happen.
Right.
Except when Amazon just decides to scare you for no reason.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was terrible. And now essentially that whole problem was just a huge glitch, and it's all solved, and those products are now good to sell. So praise God, we're good.
Yeah.
But we were trying to figure out like how we're going to sell them on Walmart, sell them on eBay, maybe sell them to some retail stores, sell them back to our distributors, sell them to other sellers, just to get rid of the product and get the money back.
Yeah. Save our company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was Operation Bailout.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, I
Seriously.
was like, we put in so much work. I'm not letting this take us out.
No.
But essentially my mindset was like, all right, we're not making any money for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Which is like a disaster because Q4 is is the time to make money on Amazon.
Yeah.
For
So,
sure.
but yeah, thank God that's all cleared and we should be good to go for the rest of the year. But that scare is kind of accelerating our process of becoming multi-channel and having other ways of selling stuff, because
For sure.
if Amazon just decides to shut you down, you're like, well,
Toast.
there goes that.
Yeah. And we've had friends also get their accounts like deactivated.
Yeah. I mean, from being in the community, I mean,
Yeah.
I know a guy, he was selling $1 million a month of product, 8-figure business. And for one intellectual property complaint from a brand, it took him out.
Yeah.
So
Does he still sell?
yeah, he's still selling.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
he has multiple accounts as well, and he still might get that account back.
Right.
But sometimes that, even if you deactivate it and then get it back, sometimes that process can take 3 to 6 months.
Right. Or
And-
longer.
Or longer.
Especially if you hire like a lawyer and stuff too. I've had people I've seen people do that before.
So it's like, even it might not be the total end, but I mean, it could, if you don't have other ways of selling, you could be out that revenue for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the other part of that is, it's not just multi-channel, but most of that risk with getting deactivated comes from arbitraging.
Yeah.
Because you're selling other people's brands, and that's where, the supply chain can get a little bit sketchy, or the brand might not want you selling the product and you didn't know that. And that's where, counterfeit stuff can come into play.
Yeah.
But if you're selling private label, or if you are, another form of wholesale is doing like exclusive deals with people, right? So let's say brand X has a product they want to sell on Amazon, but they don't understand how Amazon works.
Yeah.
We partner with brand X as the only person allowed to sell their stuff, and we get it straight from them. So then we have good margin. We're managing their listing. We're running ads for them, so on and so forth. That brand knows we're selling. We know we're getting it legitimate because it's coming straight from the brand. They're not going to file complaints against us. So that kind of, and we're not going to get regated on that product because we own the listing.
Yeah.
So that kind of removes some of that risk. There's different things, obviously every business has risk.
Sure.
But moving in that direction of like wholesale exclusive, private label, you're not going to be nearly as worried about getting deactivated.
Right. Yeah. I agree. And I think that's just where we're slowly starting to move.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it just builds a safer business.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on getting back into private label maybe in the future?
I don't know. A lot of product research, but no, I'm excited for it, depending on like what products we end up doing. And I think it could be a good avenue for us. It's just sometimes the cash flow burden is real. So we'll just have to monitor what we can and can't do. But yeah, I think private label obviously is the way to go. If you can get a good product and you can build a good brand. If you can't do those two things, you're just going to get roasted on Amazon. But if you can build a good brand, have some good viral videos go out for that product, yeah, you're in good business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like, we were talking about this, but kind of moving our business towards more of that wholesale exclusive side, where it's like we're an agent, we purchase wholesale and we're a retailer, but we're also like provide that agency part of it.
Yeah.
Because that's what sets you apart.
Yeah.
Because then, you manage 10 brands that are all $1 million year brands.
Right.
And then you can, if you're doing it right, you should be able to 2x their revenue.
Yeah.
And then you have a $10 million, $20 million business just managing a couple brands.
Yeah.
Versus when you're arbitraging, products have a much shorter life cycle. So some products will be good for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Other product, like the Bat House, right? It was good for 2 years.
Exactly.
And that was kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
Arbitrage products, sometimes they're only good for like a week.
Yeah.
If
that.
And so you always have to be looking for new stuff.
Right.
But with wholesale and the brand direct, it's like it has a much longer life cycle.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely more sustainable for like long-term sustainable growth. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think obviously we went through this, but for anyone just starting, if you don't have a lot of capital, it's good to start with the arbitrage method to flip your capital, right? That's
100%.
essentially what the idea is. It's like, all right, we're starting with like a couple grand.
Yeah.
How can we turn that into 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand?
Mm-hmm.
And then once you reach capital, like critical mass, then you can start like pulling money out, adding payroll and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and that's when it gets really exciting, when you start pulling out
Yeah.
money from the business.
Yep.
Which is so hard to do.
It is, because it's all cash flow.
Yeah.
It's like,
And you just want to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you're just like,
and to get bigger, you got to
eating rice and
spend more
beans.
money.
Yeah,
You got to spend,
exactly.
because you got to buy more inventory. You're not
Yep.
going to get bigger if you're not buying more inventory. So
Exactly.
you got to buy more inventory,
I know.
which means you can't take out as much money as you want to.
And you're eating rice and beans for the next week's.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for the beginner who
Yeah.
wants to start selling on Amazon,
Yeah.
what's the easiest way to get started?
Easiest way to get started is, I don't even know if I'd open a seller account. I would literally get software like SellerAmp, $20.
Yep, get
Just
SellerAmp.
go into Walmart, Target, Ollie's, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, a few stores. Start scanning stuff, seeing what you can
Particularly
find.
clearance.
Yeah, particularly clearance. And just scan, see what you can find. Look at different brands. Look in different categories: beauty, grocery, clothes. See what your state's sales tax is on specific categories. For Pennsylvania, it's clothes and grocery. So we can do a whole bunch of vitamins.
We have no sales tax.
Yeah,
on
no
them.
sale. Yeah,
Right.
you're right. Yeah, no sales tax on grocery and clothes. So we do a lot of clothes. We do a lot of like vitamins, because they actually fall under the grocery category, which is pretty big for us.
Yes.
So getting those, getting that arbitrage on like that sales taxes can be pretty big,
Yep.
because that deters a lot of sellers.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, so if you're curious, like Josh said, you don't even have to open like a seller account or anything. You can get a SellerAmp account and just start scanning products to kind of get an idea of like what kind of numbers you're looking at.
Yeah.
And then if you want to take it seriously, open an LLC. Just go to your state's Department of Revenue, and then there'll be instructions on how to file to start a business. And then open an Amazon a professional account. You can do it on your personal account too, but it's they charge additional fees with that, so it's better to have a professional account.
Yeah.
And then you got to apply to start getting ungated in different products, which is a big hurdle for a lot of beginners, but it's definitely overcomable. People are still doing it today.
Yeah.
Once you get ungated in a few good brands, then you're off to the races.
Off to the races. Yeah, absolutely.
What's like a good margin for someone to look for on a product? For someone who doesn't know, like, is it like, okay, I want to make, if I'm spending $10, I want to make $10 profit every time. Like, is that
Right.
realistic?
No, I wouldn't say that's completely realistic. There are some products you're going to find that you can do that with, but mostly for RA and beginners, they're going to be looking for into that 25 to 35% ROI, I would say. You're going to be, some products are going to get more, some products might be less, but that's like a really good range, because that's when you can start compounding it over time.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then just for someone who might not be like, there are kind of three main factors that go into it. So
Yeah.
one is profit. The next one is how quickly it's selling. And the third is how many of it can we buy.
Yeah.
And so most good products are going to check two of those boxes.
Right.
Every now and then there's a unicorn product that's going to be all three.
100%.
Normally it's just two.
Yeah.
So like Josh was saying, like an average ROI on a decent product, you're going to be looking at like 25 to 35% ROI,
Yeah.
which is if you spend $10 on the product, your return on investment of that $10 spend is going to be between $250 and $350. And so like a slower moving product, so it's going to have low velocity, so it doesn't check that box, but you might have higher profit and you might be able to buy a lot of it, right? Or a faster moving product, you might have lower ROI, lower profit, because it's moving so fast and people can buy a lot of it and there's a lot of access. But since it's moving so quickly, you can sell so many, it's still worth it, right?
Yeah.
So those metrics will kind of depend, right? And we will make exceptions on one if it meets the other two.
Yeah.
Oh, one more product story.
Whoa, which one do you want to go over?
What's the what was our best OA flip from Tactical Arbitrage? That rhymed with Zevo.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Zevos.
The Zevos.
When do we?
It was it summer last year?
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah, so we ended up finding this listing that was like a fly catcher.
The Zevo product. I think I saw a commercial for it the other day.
Yeah,
We made
pretty well known.
We made a bag.
A bag. So we basically did we do all of them like FBM?
We did them all FBM. We did them all
Yeah.
fulfilled by merchant.
Because we knew it wasn't going to last very long.
Speed was key.
Yeah, speed was
Exactly.
key.
This was one of those products where we saw it and we're like, The life cycle of this might be 2 weeks,
if that.
if that.
Yeah. So we basically bought out every Home Depot, Walmart.
We were getting them at Home Depot for $6, $7,
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah.
Selling them for like 30,
Yeah.
making 100% ROI.
Yeah.
Selling like 100 a day.
100 a day. Yeah. That was
100
like
a
our
day.
thing. Like once we would get the buy box, we would sell out in probably like 20 minutes.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane.
That was
And
awesome.
it was crazy. And
We
I
had,
remember,
we had like, I think
oh yeah,
from one side of the basement to my other side of the basement was like, that's where all the shipping labels,
just shipping labels,
just
and
all
just
the way
kept
across.
printing.
And yeah, it just kept going.
And so, like, because we had ordered them online
Yeah.
from Home Depot, and
Yeah.
then Home Depot ran out of stock to ship, and
Yeah.
then we're like, all right,
We have to go.
in-store pickups.
And that's why RA is so good.
Yes,
Because you'll get the products that
that are, yeah. So
still
we
there.
would pick them up in store,
Yeah.
list them right away,
Mhm.
sell them by the end of the day,
Mhm.
ship them all out the next day.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. And we
sick.
we cleared out every Home Depot within like an hour radius.
Yeah.
I remember you picked up like 100 from the one by your house.
Yeah.
And I drove to like 4 or 5 different Home Depots, picking up like 20 or 50 or
50.
whatever. Yeah,
It was so crazy.
it was crazy.
That was so exciting.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I just remember going to the post office and being,
So many
I like
packages.
walked in, and at this point, like they know me because I've
Yeah.
dropped off a lot. And I walked in, and he's like, "You don't have any packages?" I was like, "I have a lot of packages." He's like, "Come around back." I was like, sick. So then I just like dumped all of them into this like big thing, and I filled it up. And then he brought out another one. I filled them all out. It was so
wild.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. And those are the types of products that like really can like help you scale really quickly.
And those are the unicorns, right?
Yeah.
Because it was like we had access to buy a lot.
Yep.
It was selling really quick, and the ROI was high.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
we maybe have had one other product that's been that crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
that
about
was
it.
fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. And
I mean, I think it was within like 72 hours, we spent $3,000 and profited $3,000.
yeah. And then the payout's so much faster with FBM
Yes,
because they
yes.
don't have to hold it for like returns or something like that. I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah. So sick.
it was crazy.
I want to do it again. And that's why Q4 is around the corner.
I know, it's
I know.
crazy.
I'm so excited.
All right, guys. Well,
Perfect.
thanks for listening to us rambling and telling all those stories. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Peace.